Hello everyone and welcome to episode 42. Where did we leave off in episode 41? Well, at the beginning of episode 41, the green dragon that had just attacked the town of Fondurg and demanded some champion to go out and hear their demands, had killed and flown away with, or rather incapacitated and flown away with, the unconscious, if not dead, body of the town's main fighter, Tauchu. And Apis started the session with the town going wild around them. Absolute chaos in the streets as people scream and ran and cry and barricade themselves in, and arrows are flying after, in futile, the receding dragon and his half-dragon offspring. Apis went south very quickly to the PEA, the Penkampuer en Amgelshed, the greenhouse that is about a 10-minute walk out of town to the south of town, where they spoke with all of the people in charge there, Polython, the high-level druid, and the other druids of the area. They decided that they needed to talk with the higher-ups immediately about putting together a plan of attack, what to do about this new demands of the dragon. And just as they were deciding this, the teenage girl that runs the sort of reception hall of the Knights of Kvosna, Cassandra, she came running down south of town and she said, "Polython, you're wanted at the mayor's town hall. He's calling an emergency meeting with all of the heads of the various factions and guilds of the town to decide what to do." And you came along as well because you were obviously important and quite tied into this dragon situation. And at this town meeting, you met the Mayor Chuffy Gardens, a halfling fella, a hobbit fella, and between him, a couple of knights of Kvosna, a couple of wizards of the Arcanists Entente, Polython from the Druids Guild, Briar also from the Druids Guild, you, and a couple of people from the Arcanists, the Artisanal Alliance. You had this meeting and over a lot of debating and talking about through the different possibilities and the different options, the different ways that you can tackle this issue, you ultimately decided that an ambush was probably a best way forward to provide the dragon the sacrifice that he has demanded at dusk today, but to offer yourself as Apis as the sacrifice. Have you tied up in your own magical rope, such that you can drop it at a moment's notice? Have the wizards cast illusion magic over your weapons so that you've got your bow without it looking like you've got your bow when you go out there? At the last second, the dragon will come down to claim you. You'll drop the rope, pull out this invisible bow, make an attack. Everybody who's hiding in the tree lines will do their things. The druids will try and keep the dragon on the ground while the fighters run up and attack it, and yada yada yada. That's the general gist of the plan. Apis then set off from the meeting, went over to the local hunting spot and met with their new acquaintance Sam. Checked that Sam was doing okay, unsuccessfully tried to persuade Sam to join the ambush, and then headed off down south towards the Penkampuer en Amgelshed, the Druids Guild, to talk with them about the preparations, whether or not they've brewed any potions lately, potions of healing which would help, if they've got anything to do with like antidotes to poisons yet, and to interrogate the live half-dragon rat that you've managed to incapacitate and bring to the Penkampuer en Amgelshed. So that's where we're picking up today, as Apis walks into the greenhouse of the Penkampuer en Amgelshed, about 10 minutes south of the town. They see that the half-dragon rat is tied up not quite like properly hog-tied or anything, but it's got its front paws tied together and its back paws tied together, and it's laying on its side, just breathing slowly, on a metal table that once held the crop plots and planters of this greenhouse. It's about midday, and even though it's sort of mid-spring, you are in a greenhouse in the middle of the day, so it's pretty warm in here. It's pretty hot as you walk in. You can feel the sort of humid, stifling air of all of the plants that have been watered, and in this heat as well. Makes for a very humid atmosphere. What do you want to do? In attendance with you is Polython, who is an elf and the sort of head of this particular chapter of the PEA. There is Briar, who is a 2-foot-tall hobbit woman who is also a druid of the guild, has a particular affinity for animals. There is another druid, another member of the druids guild. You don't know if he's actually a druid himself or not. He could be a druid, he could be a ranger, or he could have no levels particularly. A Bridden male, a half-elf, half-human male, called Charlie. And then there is a gnomon called Mark, gnomon being half-gnome, half-human. And there is a high-elf woman that you've yet to introduce yourself to by name. So this is what you find, this is what you see in the greenhouse with you. What do you want to do? Perhaps this would be a good time to ask our dice if the attack on the dragon might work. Yeah, so you have learned, so the thing below me here, the bone dice, you have learned from getting them identified by the Arcanist's Entente that they're a magical item that can be used unlimited numbers of times per day, but every time that you use them, they become less effective. You can ask them a plan of attack. You can give to the dice something that you intend to do, some sort of a plan, and the dice will tell you whether it's a good idea or a bad idea, or kind of a mix, or neither, depending on what it'll do. It won't give you any details. It'll just say yes, no, or maybe. And you're pretty sure that you can use them once. You can use them once, and it'll give you a correct answer. And then if you use them again in the same day, there's a chance of it just giving you a random answer, or lying. And then any more the times than that, the chances of it giving you a random answer increases. So you could do it now, but you also know that the closer to the time of the plan coming into action, the more chance of it telling you the correct answer as well. So if you ask it now about a plan that's for 6 hours from now, being that it's midday now and the dragon is coming at dusk, if you say, in 6 hours we plan to do this thing, is that a good idea? There's a chance that it's too far out to tell, and so the dice will give you either no answer at all, or it'll give you a false answer. So we can ask the druids what they've found out so far. Cool. So the Polython and Briar were with you in the meeting, so they haven't been interrogating it, but the elf, the gnomon, and the Bridden have been in the greenhouse dealing with this rat. None of them speak Draconic, though, I don't think. Let me double check that in my head. There's no reason why any of them would speak Draconic, I don't think. So I don't think that any of them have learnt anything from the rat yet. They weren't able to interrogate him yet. The druids have speak to animals, but Polython said nobody actually speaks Draconic. True, they can speak to animals, but not Draconic, so they might have been able to glean something from its animal nature. The gnomon definitely would have, because he's half forest gnome. Yeah, okay, so the let's just roll an animal handling for the gnomon. Mark, he rolled poorly, so he's struggling to get by the draconic nature of this creature, and he tells you, he says,
yeah, the problem is, you see, it's not acting as a rat anymore. The giant rats are usually okay to talk to. I'm all right with getting basic information from a giant rat, but this one doesn't seem to act in the way that a rat does. He's much more cautious and intelligent and more familiar with himself, a sense of sentience, if you know what I mean. He seems more still a little rat-brained, but more like a severely uneducated person than a rat, if you know what I mean. And so his body language and his speech is it's not what I'm used to. I've not been able to really get anything out of him. Just that he came here with his father, and that's pretty much all he's told me. He came here with his father, and then he got attacked. He's trying to make his daddy happy. Do we know anything of the history of this particular dragon? Is it the same one that attacked our village? I don't believe you know for sure. There's no way that Apis would know for sure, because they didn't actually see the dragon that attacked the village, and they never met Ungahef. But from the way that people talked about Ungahef as you grew up, with the knowledge of him being in the Giftigald forest, people talked about Ungahef as being a very large, ferocious sort of ancient dragon, or an adult, very old dragon. They would have talked about him as being. And the one that's attacking Fondurg seems to be smaller and younger. You have studied dragons since the attack on your home village, and you know that green dragons in particular have scales that sort of change colour as they age, from like a really dark, almost black, through like a dark olive, into like an emerald and forest green as they blend more in with their surroundings. The one that attacked Fondurg has sort of an olive green scale to them. Was the dragon's initial attack this morning or last night? This morning. The dragon arrived at dawn this morning and gave you until dusk. Can we ask if the druids know how to charm monsters and if they can help that way? Well, you ask so, and I'm going to look up the charm monster spell and see how rare it is. I think it's a 5th level spell. It's a 4th level spell, meaning you have to be a 7th level to have access to it. 7th level druid. Polython, let me give her a chance. So druids have to prepare their spells every morning. So there's a chance that she would have prepared Charm Monster today, but given her daily life, it is not that great a chance. Although she for a few days now has been aware that there is reason to believe there might be a dragon nearby. So that chance of her doing that might have gone up. Alright, so there is a... Hey, look at that, 008. Yes, she has got Charm Monster today. So you ask, and Polython says, yes, there is a way of convincing a creature that you mean it no harm, or that you're even a friendly acquaintance to it. I have the way of manipulation of creatures' minds. It's a difficult spell. I'm not sure that anyone else in the order would be able to do it. Bry, you've not studied the ways of charming creatures? And Bry says, no, I thought I had a similar thing for a while, that I could do it on people, but I never really pursued it, and never practiced it. It didn't feel right. But I've heard that you kind of got to practice that in order to unlock the ability to do it with other creatures outside of people. Yes, it did start that way with me as well. I unlocked sort of a natural ability to convince a person that I was their friend or meant them no harm, and then unlocked the ability to do it to creatures beyond people as well. And I was concerned that I should probably focus on that ability a little more each morning, since I've heard about the dragon. Wouldn't the rat knew that it was charmed after it wears off? That might end up bad for us after, wouldn't it? Potentially, yeah. Would you be willing to try? Are you saying to try and charm the rat, or to save it for the ambush tonight and try and charm the dragon? Because anything that we do or use now is done and used before the ambush tonight. You're saying to do it in the ambush, yeah. So she says, you say, is that something you can do tonight? And she says,
It's a possibility, but the two things that I will raise about that, the two dangers, is that number one, I will be first and foremost trying to keep this creature on the ground with a particular spell that I can use to keep them bound to the earth. And number two, in order to manipulate its mind into believing I am a friend, I have to be rather close to it. What's Briar says, oh no wait, she only prepares animal spells, so it would have to be one of the others. I think the gnomon. So who would have it? I think it would be the gnomon. I think it would be Mark. Let me just double check that I'm getting Mark and Charlie the right way around. PA, Charlie's the Bridden, Mark is the gnomon, yeah. Mark says, if it helps then, I actually have the ability to hold him to the ground, the sort of binding to earth spell, if that's what you are meaning. And Bolton says, yes, that the sort of yellow whips of, and he goes, yeah, I've had that for a while. I used to use it. Well, my father taught me it when we went hunting. We would grab pheasants with it. It took a while for me to practice it, but I've gotten much better at it recently. She says, right, well, in that case, if Mark is doing that, then I can try and focus on charming the dragon, but I do need to be relatively close to it. I need to be within, I'd say, 30 feet or so. Are these half-dragon creatures actually draconic offspring? Yes. Draconic influence somehow. It seems so. He's been referring to them as my children, and the ones that you've been speaking to in draconic have referred to him as father. So it could still be metaphorical, or it could be that it's actually his offspring. Do we know if this is the same dragon that's destroyed our hometown? We don't know that for sure or not, one way or another. Charming the dragon seems like a short-term solution, even if it worked, so not the best idea. We'd need to try them first if going to. It's charmed for an hour. Charming is stopgap at best. It stops working the second we attack it. So we ask her about it. We say, how does the charming work exactly? What does it mean? And she says, well, I attempted to charm a creature that I can see. Have to be within 30 feet or so. If it is strong of will, strong of mind, then it's likely to succeed in preventing the charm from taking hold. But if I'm particularly lucky, or it is weak of mind, then it will become under my not under my control, but it will consider me a friend, an acquaintance, a friendly ally of sorts. If I am already hostile to it, or any of my companions are hostile towards it, then its adrenaline is usually up. It's in a fighting mode, and so it usually is less effective at working. If, however, it does work, it works until I do something harmful to it, or anyone that it considers associated with me does anything harmful towards it. So even if it was to work, I would be able to prevent it from attacking until anyone that was with me attacked it. Unfortunately, at the end of about an hour or so, the creature usually knows that it was attacked in a magical means by me. We think and charm it and then lure it to a portal and through. So what is our bargaining chip? What have we got that the dragon wants apart from territory? Could we interest the dragon in a protection racket, some kind of tribute for protection? Potentially, you can try. With an hour of being charmed, you could certainly restrain it to a point it couldn't break free, unless it considered being restrained a hostile act. You don't have control over it. You just manipulate its mind into thinking of you and your allies as friendly allies. And so if it's the type of thing that would be like, your friend would ask you, hey, can I just tie you to this chair real quick? And you'd be like, no, regardless of how friendly you are, then it's not going to necessarily just allow you to do that. Would apes count as an existing threat? It's possible that you would be considered a threat, although from the evidence it seems like it did not recognize you by face as the champion, the one that had killed its children, and so perhaps it would not recognise you as an existing threat, especially if you had no weapons on you, perhaps. We could see if we could detect a portal. That is definitely an ability you have as Apis, down under features there. As a Horizon Walker, you have done so once before, where you've tried to determine whether there was a portal within a mile of you. Unless we could entice it to a bigger territory like the other dragons. Maybe. But again, would you be able to do so under a charm? Like, would it, if you told your friend, hey, come with me to this really dangerous part of town, probably wouldn't go, even though they're your friend, because it's the same situation with the dragon. Like, you charm him and then you say, come with me to this other green dragon's territory. He's probably going to be like, no thanks. Alright, so you've got a rat in front of you on the table. You've got Polython and the rest of the group sort of discussing what they've got available to them. Protection from good and evil wouldn't help, would it? No, I don't believe so. Let me just double check the spell to make sure I'm getting it right, but I'm pretty sure that dragon is not one of the things that it protects from. Until the spell ends, one willing creature you touch is protected against certain types of creatures: aberrations, celestials, elementals, fae, fiends, and undead. Things from the outer planes of existence, and dragons are not. So, the dragon would be unaffected unless he was secretly actually an aberration, celestial, elemental, fae, fiend, or undead. Talk to the rat, see if it can speak Draconic back to us. Alright. Have they updated us with antidote for dragon poisoning? They said that you ask them and they say there's been no time. Since the last time you asked, like an hour has passed. Like they haven't had time to be working on it at all. That's what today was for. They're brewing potions. They're brewing potions with the ingredients that you got them during your downtime. You went during some downtime. And so they do owe you a potion of light healing. So you ask about the potions of the antidotes and stuff, and they say we're working on it, but it's going to take a while. And then that reminds Polython, we owe you a potion of light healing as well, don't we? And so she goes and grabs you that. They have for a while been trying to stock up on potions as best they can. So those two that you can see in my inventory below me are half healing potions. Half strength. The one over here is a full strength healing potion. Polython mentioned using wind wall to protect the city if the dragon decided to breath weapon. Yes. So she said she can wind wall the city, the town, to keep some of the breath weapon out. So you've heard all of this about the potions and such. Polython comes back with your potion of healing and says, it's just the one, I'm afraid. We need to keep a good stockpile for in case things go poorly and people will inevitably need healing. And you say that's fine. One's fine. You take it and you put it in like a bandolier pouch in your belt, just so that it's got quick access. Bonus action to drink in my games. And then you walk past and you say, I think it's time we talk to this rat, don't you? And you walk on over to the table. You're about 4.5 feet, so the table's like up to your sort of collarbone area, and the rat's sitting at eye level on there, just like with its head turned towards you. You say, in Draconic, you say, hello, how are you feeling? And the rat kind of recognizes you speaking in Draconic and says back, it hurts, it hurts. You say, what hurts? My leg. And I'm now just remembering that I said that its front paws were tied together, but from memory, actually, he had lost one of them in the fight, didn't it? You'd stuffed the wound, you'd stopped it from bleeding out, but you weren't able to reattach the limb. You see that it's kind of on that side, and it's not bleeding at all. It seems like the low-level druids that had brought it back to the greenhouse while you were in the mayor's meeting had suited the or what's the word? They'd prevented the bleeding out with magical healing. But the rat's still not used to the fact that he's only got 3 legs now. So you say, why did your father send you to attack us? Send you to your death? Daddy said he would be happy. Daddy said we would help him grow in power. Daddy said he would appreciate us. Did you know you were going to die? No.
Am I going to die?
I don't think so, no. Daddy's full of it. You guys need to tell me what what his ape is saying. I'm not controlling the character, you guys are. So help me with this conversation. He was using you. He was using you and your siblings as fodder.
What is fodder?
He was using you to soak up the blows from the enemy so that he wouldn't get hurt.
Daddy is strong. Daddy cannot be hurt.
Ask him, how many siblings does he have? How many siblings do you have?
What is siblings?
How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Lots of brothers and sisters.
Do you know how many?
Lots.
What's your daddy's full name? His eyes go towards you. He says,
Lucifrique.
one more time.
Lucifrique.
Where does your daddy live?
In the woods.
Whereabouts in the woods? Doesn't seem to understand the question so much. And you remind yourself that while you're talking to an intelligent rat, he's still intelligent for a rat. He's not necessarily going to be good at understanding certain questions unless they're phrased in the right way. If your daddy's so strong, why did he need to send you?
Daddy is clever.
Do you want to offer him a spotted a menagerie as a promise of safety, maybe? How old is your daddy?
Daddy is old. Daddy has been around forever.
What does your daddy want?
Daddy wants to be stronger, wants to be bigger, wants to have more forest.
I'm going to roll a check real quick to see how much this particular rat knows about his daddy's plans. He says,
Daddy wants to go. Daddy wants to be strong and powerful. He wants to go back.
Go back where?
Daddy wants to go back to where he was before.
What sort of things are close to your daddy's home?
Lots of trees. There's trees with the featherless birds that live in the trees. There's trees with the more trees on top of them, and the birds that live in the trees, the ones that don't have feathers.
What else?
There's water.
There's water near daddy's home?
Yes.
What sort of water? Like a big? Does the water move, or is it like just a big amount of water that's stationary?
No, moving, falling water. Running water. Streams and rivers. Is that right? River?
You say a river moves, water comes down and goes down quite fast.
Yes, rivers.
Do you know who your grandfather is?
What is grandfather?
Do you know who your daddy's daddy is?
Does daddy have daddies?
Seems like he might not have been told that. Would you like to go back to your daddy?
Yes. It hurts.
I'm going to need to know where your daddy is then to help help me take you home. How would you get from here to there? How long were you walking? You intuit from that, with your animal handling and relatively high insight as well, that the rat's starting to stress out, because when you ask him like how long were you walking, it's like he doesn't understand units of measurement or time, and so he's trying to like answer it in a way that he what's a long time, what's a short time, he doesn't know. Offer him some food. So Ibis takes out some simple rations, some dried meat, and puts it in front of the rat's mouth. Do you eat meat? Do you eat this? How about this? And you take out some dried berries and nuts, and he starts nibbling on that. Seems to calm him down a little bit. Do you know what your daddy's plans are for the town?
Daddy was angry. Daddy said he will take another town. He said it will be his next prize.
A prize? Does Daddy already have some prizes?
Yes.
Where does your daddy keep his prizes?
In the trees with the other trees on top.
How old are you? How old? Do you know how old you are?
What is old?
How many times have you... never mind. How does Daddy propose becoming big and stronger? How does he want to become bigger and stronger?
Daddy says he will be stronger when he takes more prizes, when he has more. He wants to be strong and big to go back.
And how is he going to get bigger and stronger?
Daddy asks for more creatures. Rats. Daddy wants more babies.
Is there anything that scares your daddy so we can protect him from it? I'm going to need a persuasion check for that particular question. That's a 6 persuasion. I mean, you're giving him some food and you're speaking in his home language, and he's not super smart, so I will give you advantage on that actually. 7, technically better. 7, that's an 8 is persuasion. Unless anybody wants to use their reroll of an inspiration or lucky horseshoe, you get it once per day, and so you get your technically your inspiration is as many times a day as I feel you were inspiring. With that, you pick up that there might well be something that scares your daddy, but scares his daddy, but he doesn't want to talk about it, and instead he says,
"Daddy's not scared of anything."
If we were to give you a present, a prize for your daddy, would you be able to go back and give it to him? Do you know how to get back? And he says,
"Yes."
Can we give the rat some food or bread or whatever? Yeah, you're continually just giving him like little bits from your rations, just like nuts and berries and things. Where was your daddy before?
I don't know.
How would you find your way back from here?
I know how to move around. I know where I'm going.
He knows where he's going, he just doesn't know how to describe it seems. Can we make the rat any more comfortable? Are you comfortable? Can I make you any more comfortable?
My shoulder hurts.
Let me help you out, and you take the rat and you lift him up, and his feet scrabble a little bit, and you get like a little scratch across your shoulder. You place him down on his other side, the shoulder that's actually not amputated. Is that better?
Yes.
Do you know how your daddy got here from wherever he was?
He flies. Daddy is fast flyer.
What does your daddy call the place that he came from and wants to get back to? What do you know? Let's see. What would he know? Would he have spoken to it by name? Yeah, he would have. He would have ranted about it by name. So does this rat remember? That's a D8 again, Rob. He says,
I don't remember.
Where was the sun when you left Daddy's home? That's a good question. He says,
Yeah, it was dark when we left. But the sun came up to
that side, and he gestures to his left side. And you're, just to reiterate for anybody who's just joining us or anything, it was dawn when they attacked this morning. Was it Giftigald?
Yes, Giftigald. Daddy says Giftigald should be his. He says Giftigald is he wants to be big and strong so that he can take Giftigald.
Can we make a check or something to see if it can actually move back to its home with a bad leg in the first place? As somebody who has spent a lot of time in the forest, you've come across animals that have survived amputations before. Not for very long, because they usually end up getting eaten by predators or something. But you've definitely come across wild creatures that have toes missing or feet missing through hunting traps, snapping them off and things, that survive for a little while after that. So this rat could possibly still walk through town. Who's your biggest brother?
Piggy.
Piggy.
Piggy. Big brother Piggy.
And that's it. So was Piggy there today?
Yes.
And Piggy's your biggest brother?
Yes.
Chat or the DM, how do we know how the dragon mixes their babies? You would know, as Apis, who has studied dragons, they're their favourite enemy. You would know that some dragons are capable of polymorphing themselves. And so you would probably assume, as sort of the Occam's razor, that the dragon is polymorphing himself into the respective animal, and then doing the dirty with that animal, and making babies that way. What other siblings do you have? What other brothers and sisters do you have? What kind?
There is the flying ones. Although Daddy is upset that his bat died. But there is another one with feathers, black feathers, like a blackbird.
Okay. What else? Do you what other brothers and sisters do you have?
There is the tunneler.
The tunneler. Do they have names?
No.
You don't know their names?
No.
Daddy never gives you names?
No.
Okay. What else do you have? Which other brothers and sisters?
Lots of brothers and sisters.
How many brothers that can move under the earth do you have?
Just the tunneler.
The tunneler, and he came the other day, didn't he? He came this morning.
Yes.
What about brother that digs? Is the tunneler the second biggest brother? Let me check that.
He says, no. There is another tunneler. He's bigger. But he's slower. He's black and white.
Can you sense if any of your family are near?
What?
Do you know if your family are here?
No, I can't see my family.
Would you like a name?
If you want.
What would you like me to call you?
I don't know.
Is your other big brother, the big black and white one, is he a badger?
Badger, yes, badger.
Darren. You're gonna call this rat Darren. Rattus the Mighty. If they have a mole, then it might be a problem. They control their lair in a way we won't see them, but they will hear us. Yes. Yeah, I like Darren. Darren? Is Darren? Are we good with Darren, everybody? It's a good rat name. Alright, so you say, how about Darren?
Darren?
Yeah, Darren. Do you like that name?
Yes.
Darren it is then. I think we can keep you fed and safe. No more pain.
No more pain. I want to go home.
Can you take us to your daddy?
I can take you there.
Do you need more food? Nods. Give him some more rations. What sort of treasures does your daddy like?
Daddy likes the ones that live on the trees, and the ones that live in the behind the trees, behind the thick the trees that are close together.
Does he keep people as
people? Yes, people.
The ones that live in the trees are people?
Yes.
So does he keep people alive? Do the people move? Are they?
Yes.
And they speak and
yes.
And they're part of Daddy's treasures and prizes.
Yes.
Do you understand that Daddy wants to hurt me and my friends?
Daddy's strong and he gets angry.
Do you want some water?
Yes.
You get your water skin out, and dribble some water onto the table in front of him, and sideways with his little ratty mouth. Tries to lap it up. Do any of the ones that live in the trees look like anyone here? He looks around the room and like there's the other druids in the room with you, the ones that I've mentioned. And he says,
yes.
The ones in the trees do look like ones here.
Yes.
Does he, can he heal them? You know, like my friends have done to your shoulder here, where you're not hurt anymore.
It still hurts.
Right, yeah, there's still pain, but you're not bleeding anymore. Does your daddy do that as well? Does he keep people alive to keep them as treasures?
I don't know.
Are the people in the trees? Are they small, like me or my friend Briar, who's like less than half of even your height as a dwarf? Are they small like you, me, and Briar, or are they tall like Polython? Polython being an elf isn't actually that tall. Like in my world, elves are usually between 5 and 6 feet. To get a 6 foot elf would be rare as like a 6'7" human or something. So she's tall, but she's not as tall as Charlie, who is a half elf, half human, and he's taller. So are they small like me, or are they tall like Charlie?
Tall, like that one.
and gestures towards the general area where Polython and Charlie are standing. Just because someone gets angry, it doesn't mean that they get to hurt people.
Daddy is strong and powerful and will get stronger.
Could this be the war the elves were talking about? Maybe. Yeah, we turn to Polython and Briar and what are you talking about? I saw you gesturing to us. What? I was asking him if the people that his daddy keeps as prizes were tall like you or short like us. It seems that his daddy keeps things alive as a gift, a prize, a treasure. And it seems like they're people that live up in the treetops. He says they live in the trees above the trees, so I think he means like, I don't know, maybe like wooden tree villages or something. And Polython says that does sound like elven villages, yes. There are wood elves. And the other wood elf woman in the room that you haven't met by name yet says there are many wood elven villages throughout the Lannis Woods and into the Giftigald. Right, well it seems like he might be keeping his treasures in one of those villages. Is there anything you want to ask him? I can ask him for you. Would there be anything that they need to know? Just all the same stuff that you're asking already, I think. Is he able to take us back to his place? He can't give us directions, doesn't understand directions, but he can find his way back, he says, so we could follow him if necessary. Do the people in the trees move and talk? Yeah, you've asked that, and he said yes to both. Nature check for the trees above the trees? Sure. Nature check. 8. 8 plus 3 intelligence is 11. Trees above the trees makes you think perhaps he's talking about wooden, maybe he's talking about wood as trees, and like the trees above the trees might be like a wooden village in the trees. Are there any of the wood elven villages, are there any that's near a waterfall or a river? And the other wood elf woman says, yes, lots of them. Most of the wood elven villages are built by the sides of a river or a brook or a stream of some kind. It's obviously how we get our water, so you don't have to move too far away from them. Plus the strongest trees are usually built near fresh water, usually grown near fresh water, so it makes for a sturdy base to build our villages. Make sure that they know there is a weakness, but we couldn't find out what it is. Also, he said, I asked him if his daddy's scared of anything, and his reaction was a little abrupt, but said that his daddy's fearless and scared of nothing. But I think there might be something in there that I just couldn't get to.
And Bryce says, yeah, I noticed he acted frightened to divulge information at one point. I'm not able to understand what you're saying, but I can read his body language very well.
Also, we got the sun direction. He said that after he set off after dark, and then the sun came up to his left side, and if he came in from the north, that would be the east. So as the sun came up to the east, as it's rising, and it was on his left, so he must have been coming from the north. Is there anything you want to say to me without rather than just answering my questions?
No. Can I go home to Daddy?
Maybe soon. Oh, also, he remarked as the Giftigald. Yes, I heard you say Giftigald. What was that in relation to? I asked him where his daddy was from. Like, he said that his daddy needs to get big and strong to go back to where he was before, and he said that he was from the Giftigald and wants to take back the Giftigald. Right, so it's as I suspected. He's a young dragon that is reaching adulthood and has been kicked out of home by his father or mother or some other such dragon, and is moving out to find territory of his own. It's not unusual for a young dragon to try and fight back against their parents when they are young and brash and think they know better. It's one of the reasons why there are so few dragons in the world, is that the young go to fight when they are unable, and the fathers end up killing them. He's in pain. Can we help with that at all and get him to trust us more? And Polython says, there's little we can do to prevent that, unfortunately, when such an amount of nerve damage has been done to his shoulder. There is only so much that the magic of healing can do. We can continue to ply him with healing magic, but we would need something that acts on a deeper level, such as Prince Alv or something. And having such is rare, and would mean that we do not have it in our stockpile for the inevitable fight that is to ensue. Can we, are we able to collect some of your poison, Darren?
What?
He kind of like shuffles his head back away from me on the table. When you breathe out to hurt something, when I hunt, when you hunt, yes, when you hunt and you breathe out the smoke that hurts them. If you did that, would we be able to collect some of it? We could arrange for a few scouts to follow the rat, potentially rescue the treasures while we spring the trap. That's definitely an option we could look into, but keep in mind that anyone we send is not people that are here for the ambush. So you're weakening your home forces by sending people out. Are you or your brothers and sisters afraid of anything?
When Daddy gets angry.
How much time has passed? It's probably about 12:30-ish, maybe approaching 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You've got about 5 hours left until dusk. What does Daddy do with his treasures?
He talks to them. He looks at them. He makes them do things for him. He makes them work with him and for him.
What if I told you that you could go somewhere too far away for even your father's anger?
Why? Please. No.
What sort of things make your daddy angry?
When his prizes don't do as he asks them to do. When we don't act how he wants.
When Daddy gets angry, how do you help him not be angry?
He flies and leaves and comes back when he's not angry.
How long do we have before the dragon shows up? Right, about 5 hours-ish. Are we on full hit points? I think we're on full hit points, full spells and full inspiration at the moment. What do you do when Daddy's gone?
We do what we do. Look for food.
I say we tell him he can go back tomorrow, and then we go and prepare. I think we run out of things to ask the rat before the battle. Should we do some other prep? It seems like we're not going to get any further. We need to start making a decision. Just want to make sure we still have time for other prep. Yep. So what's the plan? What do we do? We know that this rat apparently can find his way home, so we could hunter's mark him and track him. We could send another group to do that while we do something at home. Does Daddy have any strong enemies?
Daddy.
Gonna need another persuasion check here. You don't have advantage on this one. 17 plus 1. You see him kind of like, and Briar says, what was that? You say, I asked him if Daddy has any enemies. Any strong enemies. He says he's uncomfortable. And Briar steps up, grabs a stepping stool that the gnomon Mark usually uses when he's doing his gardening, and she steps right up next to you, and she just kind of like starts to soothe him and calm him down, appeal to his animal side. For her, she's going to roll an animal handling check. She's got a super duper modifier for that because she's an amazing and animal specific druid. So that's okay. That's above average. She starts to calm him down a bit and works with you there to persuade him to come clean a little. And he goes, Daddy talks about taking back his home, the the Giftigald. The Giftigald, yes, Daddy talks about taking back Giftigald. He says that someone will pay. Someone will pay?
He says that he will be bigger and stronger than bigger, and Daddy wants to be bigger and stronger to take back from I don't know.
Is it Ungerhef?
Yes. Daddy says he will make Ungerhef pay. What is Ungerhef?
Polython says, did you say Ungerhef? And you turn and say, yes, I think he's Ungerhef's child. He says that Daddy wants to go and make Ungerhef pay. Wants to take back the Giftigald from Ungerhef. We tell him, Ungerhef is Daddy's daddy.
Daddy has a daddy?
Yes, Daddy has a daddy, and he's big and strong and scary. And your daddy, in the same way that your daddy gets angry and makes you scared, your daddy's daddy gets very angry and makes a lot of people scared. So what do you want to do? You done with this rat? I think Apis would want to wipe out the entire line. Potentially. Kind of wonder if the rat is just saying yes to whatever we suggest because he thinks that's what we want to hear. I'm probably wrong, but just wondering. It's definitely a possibility. Does Briar think she could follow the rat home and remain unseen? Does she have another of equal capabilities to assist? Briar, just as a thought, I'm not proposing it as a plan yet, but I'm just getting everything in alignment. Do you reckon you'd be able to, if we let this rat go and he went home, would you be able to follow him without being seen? And Briar says,
Yes, I could do that, but it would be potentially dangerous for the number of animals and critters in the forest.
Okay, perhaps we could go speak with the mayor and the council about this new information. That would be wise to give the mayor the mayor and everybody else this information. We can follow the rat tomorrow if things go south and we survive. That's also a good point, to just leave it until tomorrow to go ahead with the plan as is and hope for the best. I think someone wanted to ask Sam to follow the rat. I've already asked Sam to put herself in danger and she said no. So Sam is a dead end at this stage. Alright, you need to rest to feel better, good enough to go home. Is that alright?
Yes.
So then you go home tomorrow in the morning when the sun comes up again.
Yes.
Alright, so we've said goodbye to Darren essentially. The rat has told us what we need to. What do we want? What preparation do we want to do? I know a couple of people have said we need to train Mel. That is seemingly a high priority because a few people have mentioned it. We need to train Mel into getting her to understand that she can't use the sleep spores when we're in range. So that's one of the priorities that we could do. Do we want to help the PEA with the brewing process? Maybe we can offer some process and maybe we can get another potion or so and speed up that process. I don't know. Do we want to go foraging for ingredients for more potions for them with the few hours we've got left? Do we want to train with the Knights of Kavosna and come up with some sort of a battle strategy that can work together? Or what how do you guys want to use the last 5 hours or so you've got before dawn? Alright, most people saying that we need to inform the council. That's the top priority, and then once we've done that, train with Mel. I believe that's what the majority is saying. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think we swap being the sacrifice with someone else, and because we speak Draconic, we can follow the rat tomorrow. Is 5 hours enough time to move a ballista? They've been working on that since the morning, so they've been doing that for about 2 or 3 hours of going around trying to unbolt these ballistas and put them onto mobile things now. But they also don't want to leave the town at a disadvantage by removing all of the ballista. They just want a few. I think it's too late to change the plan now. We volunteered ourselves and took the blame for the situation on ourselves because of the actions. Changing our minds now would probably be seen as cowardly. That is a very good point, Sparrow. If we tried to change our mind as to being the sacrifice, then there's a very good chance that the mayor, who we were just in like a 2-hour meeting with them to arrange this plan, it would be very good chance that the mayor and everyone who was in that meeting would go, oh, Apis said so in the moment because they felt heroic, and since then they've gone off and allowed cold feet to get involved. So there's no one countering my suggestion of going to the very first thing we do is just inform the mayor of everything else that we've learned. So Apis does that. They leave all of the druids in the greenhouse doing their thing with the potions and stuff. Right before we leave, Polython says, so are we going ahead with trying to get to source some of its poison breath? Can you ask it to breathe for us in a protected manner? And you say, yeah, I think that should be okay. And you say to the rat, could you, if we take you outside, can you breathe for us in some of that gas that you can do? We want to study what it does. I'm going to make a just a general sort of animal handling check to see how well you sort of get that opinion across. That's a 16 plus animal handling of 5. Yeah, so that's a 21. So with a 21 animal handling check, you get the idea, the gist of what you were trying to say to the rat, and explain that like it's dangerous and it hurts us, so you've got to be very careful when you breathe around us. And if you don't hurt us, we'll keep you nice and well fed and stuff. So you're trying to like train it out of the mindset of wanting to hurt in order to hunt for food and things, and be like, you're a very good rat. Good job, Darren. And then you tell Polython that you've told him that, and now the rat will hopefully work with Polython a little bit more to be like, okay, now once she's got herself ready with like a big plastic bag or something, breathe into this. Some sort of capturing device that that's Polython's deal, not yours. So you leave that with Polython and you head off back towards the town. 10-minute walk later, you are at the southern gate of the town, and you head on in. You convince the town guard who you are, and they recognise you by now. So they let you in, close the door behind you again, and you head straight for the town hall, the mayor's hall. The streets are not yet deserted, but it looks like in a short while they might be, because the only people that are on the streets are people bustling with bags and crates and like carts and trying to get out of the town gate. The difficult thing about getting into the city, I guess, was although the guard on the gate recognized you and let you in, they had to let you in and get you in quickly and then close the gate behind you, because as soon as you get in, you realize that there's a lot of people demanding to be let out, and the guards are saying no. And so you kind of move your way past this parade of angry citizens that are trying to flee in the moment and get the hell out of Dodge. And you make your way to the town hall. The centre square is completely deserted, and you make your way into the meeting hall where you saw the mayor before, and he's not there, but you go out and ask the receptionist, and she tells you where he is, and she doesn't seem to care that she recognises you from letting you into the meeting with him earlier, so she doesn't seem to care that you're not on any sort of a list. And so you head up the stairs to where the mayor's office is and knock on the door, and there's a "Yes, come in." And you open the door and you see the mayor behind the desk, and there's one of the knights that he was talking to in the meeting is there as well. Was she full elf? Was she a half elf? Let's remember. Knights of Kavosna, Wolverine, Nambra. She's a female high elf. She's sitting there with him. He says, Apis, wasn't it? Come on in. And you go on in and you close the door behind you and you sit down and tell them. We don't have to roleplay the whole thing unless there's specific questions you want to ask them. But you exposition dump I've just been speaking to the rat in Draconic. Here's everything that I know. Here's what he told me. And now the knights and the mayor are informed of what you had learned. I think if we try and talk with the dragon during the ambush, it will go poorly, as we have too many people to try and keep this secret. One false and the ambush is ruined. Yep. True. Better to use the name as an attempt to confuse and disorient in a last chance save, maybe. Basically, if the battle goes badly, then we use the name. Ambush is normal, but if it goes badly, say that the town is under the protection of Unguhef and this was a test, and maybe that will frighten him into not attacking because he thinks he's stepping on his dad's toes, maybe. It's a double-edged, though, as Diving for Neus says. That could either distract him and like make him pull back from the fight and be like, oh shit, I didn't realise that this was my dad's territory, I better go find another town. Or it could make him even more angry and be like, fuck my dad, I'm gonna kill you all, because then that'll show him. And you're not really sure how that'll go. Could go one way or another. But if it's a last-minute resort a last-ditch effort when the fight's going against you anyway, it could be a good thing to keep in your back pocket. So is there anything specific you want to ask the mayor and the knights or tell them about that isn't just glossed over with an exposition dump? You cast the cantrip Exposition, and they learn everything that you wanted to tell them. That's an actual spell that I homebrewed once, by the way, guys. I made it a cantrip. It's in my new spells document on my Patreon. Do we have anything we can use to upgrade the ballistas, etc., that we can ask the council to get their people to do? They're already doing that. Scouser Willow. We gave them some manticore spines, which are a type of sort of organic metal, very strong and have organic properties as well as metallic properties. They're good at like piercing armor. And we gave them 6. I was trying to indicate 6 with my hand, which I can't do because I don't know one-handed sign language. What is 6? We gave them 6 manticore spines to attach to some ballista bolts. Anything you might be able to do to buff me up a bit for the fight? So we asked them about that. Let me take a quick poll to see what Apis is feeling about backing out of this fight. I'll just put it as: does Apis offer a change of plan? Yes or no? Alright, with 78% of the vote, Apis doesn't offer a change of plan. There's about a fifth to a quarter of Apis's mind that's thinking that the plan should change in some way based on this new information. But the vast majority of Apis's mind is still dedicated on this plan being the plan of attack. Disguise yourself as a sacrifice, willing or otherwise, and drop an ambush, a sneak attack on the dragon. Alright, so that's what we go with. We leave the mayor's office, the plan's still being intact. What do we want to do now? We've probably got about 4 hours left. Let's say about 4.5 to 4 hours left. We really have enough resources to take down a dragon? Depends on the age of the dragon and the resources of your allies. You are a level 5 that can attack twice with planar warrior and hunter's mark. So you can do quite a big amount of damage. You've got +1 arrows. Alright, so train Mel. Alright, most people saying train Mel, so that's the next focus of your day. We head outside, we find Mel, and we take her to in fact, right here in the middle of the very open and deserted town square. You can probably do your training here. Is there anything we can do or use or drop if we get taken away to make it easier to track us? Yeah, that's a good idea. Spates, you could, in preparation, you could have like a bag full of sand and like cut a tiny little hole in it as you are taken away. Something like that would be smart. Or oil, or something. Caltrops, we could get enough caltrops to drop them, but that's quite a lot of caltrops. But a bag of ball bearings, 1,000 ball bearings, and just keep dropping them as you're flying away. But that would require you being conscious, I guess. The local wood elves seem to work for the dragon. It seemed that way from what you were being told, but there was a lot of open to interpretation about it. So you head out into the town square with Mel. Mel is your giant bee companion, for anyone who doesn't know. She's about the size of a potbelly pig. And she has the brain of a bee. Although you can converse with her in Sylvan, she's not the smartest. And so in the past, she has used an ability that she has to shake soporific spores off of herself that kind of lull somebody into a sleep. And she's used these spores when you are in the radius of it, because she's not that smart. And so you are going to spend some time trying to work with her to explain, all right, from that angle, I wouldn't get hit by your spores. From this angle, I probably would. So if you're going to use those spores, don't use it if you're ever at this angle or anything like this. So this is basically going to be, you're teaching her, and she's trying to learn. It's going to be based on her intelligence. So is it her that makes an intelligence check and she has advantage because you're teaching her? Or do you first make a teaching check to see how well you're teaching her, and then she makes an intelligence check with that as the DC of some kind? Have the spores ever worked? Yeah, they worked on some twig blights, I think. I feel like, just to simplify it, it's a nice simple roll. I'm going to take the 2 Mel dice, which is a nice yellow and black striped one, and a honey one. These are Mel's dice. I'm going to roll her with advantage, an intelligence check. The advantage is because you're teaching her, and the level of this check is going to determine how many hours you're going to have to spend on this before she gets it. Oh boy. After the first half an hour of talking with her, she still doesn't seem to understand even what the problem is. And you realise, like, half an hour in, this is going to be tough. You spend another half hour trying to explain yourself and why it's a problem. And she just doesn't get, like, she says, she seems to understand at the end of like the first hour of training. She seems to start to understand that it's a problem if you also succumb to the problem, the soporific spores. And she goes,
"Oh, right. It is but I am trying to put the enemy to sleep. But then you might also go to sleep."
"That's right, yes."
"And you don't want to be asleep when we're fighting because it's dangerous."
That's right, exactly. You get it.
"Right. So I should not use it."
"No, I'm not saying you can't use it. I'm saying you can't use it when I'm also there."
"But you're always there."
"I mean, when I'm in the area of the spores that you use."
There are always spores in the air."
"There are spores in the air, but there's spores that you use to put people to sleep."
"Yes."
"You can't use them when I'm underneath those spores."
"Right, but that is where the enemy is."
"Yes, it is. So we need to train you to know how, like, when it's okay to use them because I'm not there, and when it's not okay to use them, when it's not okay to use them because I am there."
When are you ever not there?"
Whew, okay. So she got, with advantage, a 3 and a 5 on the dice before her negative intelligence modifier. So this is going to take pretty much the rest of your preparation time to train Mel. With that low of an intelligence check, she is potentially going to actually get there. So it's up to you. I'm going to basically check in and see. You've spent an hour trying to train her, and she's only just getting the problem. Why it's a problem. Do you want to continue spending time on this so that she gets it and for future she's got it? Or is there more pressing stuff that you need to prepare for and you'll just deal with the fact that she still doesn't understand it? You now have about 3.5-ish hours before dusk. It's probably like, let's say, I think it's about 3 p.m, 2:30 to 3 p.m. right now. You can't horseshoe on her. That was her check, not yours. Just tell her to not use this ability at all. Talking is a free action. Can't we just give her a word that we shout when we can use it? Yeah, we can. We'll say that. We'll say, okay, so you know this thing that I do with the hands that we taught? And she goes, yes, I remember. It was very cool. And she twiddles her little legs in front, and you say, right, let's just say from now on, don't use the sleep spores at all, unless I say this word. I shout this word. What's the keyword that you're going to use to get it to activate her spores? All right, lots of people just saying sleep. So the word is going to be sleep. You say when you're only allowed to use it when I shout sleep, like that. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Yes, that's smart. But you shout it in Sylvan, whatever the Sylvan word for sleep is. What's the Sylvan? Dormir. Dormir in French, isn't it? To sleep. Dormir. So in Sylvan it would be something similar. Dorim. Dorim! When I shout Dorim! You go to sleep. You use the sleep spores, okay? Right. Can we get a small magical item that the mages can track even if we are unconscious? It doesn't even need to be a magical item for that, Spates. There is a magic spell called Find Object. So as long as you have some sort of unique object, and you have many, your panpipes, for instance, then any mage that can cast Find Object, or Locate Object it's called, can say Locate Object, Apices, panpipes, and then they can track those. Could use the dice. The dice, nothing more unique than those, yeah. That's a very good point. Alright, so we've given up on that plan of training her. We instead go to the Arcanists. A lot of people wanted to go to the Arcanists and ask them about some preparatory spells and things. We go there, we ask the illusionist, we speak with Rebecca, the Hobbledehoy, the half hobbit, half human. What is the plan? How can we do this? Is there some way, if the dragon takes me, is there some way that you can track me? And she says yes. If you have you got any sort of unique item on you, and you think, yeah, pretty unique, and you get out the box of dice and you say, this is a box, very nicely made. She goes, can I see it? She looks at it and she opens it up, sees the dice, looks at them real close and carefully, takes in the details of like the embroidery around the inside of the cushioning on the inside of the box, the like velvet cushion that it's on. Okay. She closes it down, gives it back. Right. She says, I am familiar with that item now, so if you go missing, we can cast Locate Object on it. You should probably show it to Vala as well. Vala is the head of this particular chapter of the Arcanists Entente. So you do so. You get Rebecca to go off and get Vala. She comes back. You show Vala and Rebecca these dice in the box, so they're both very familiar with them, so that if you go missing, either one of them will be able to cast Locate Object and cast it on these bone dice and track you that way, hopefully, as long as you're within 1,000 feet. Then you ask her about the preparations for the ambush, and Vala says that she explains again what happened what was decided in the meeting, so not much worth going over it again. But she says that she specializes in blood magic a little bit, and through that she has access to a spell called Bane, where she'll be able to bane the dragon and up to 2 of its allies if it comes with allies. And prevent it from saving against spells as easily and things like that. So she's going to be hiding in the wings doing that blood magic sort of stuff to try and like prevent it from leaving. She can also do wind wall, I think. Maybe that's just Polython. I'd have to look that up. I think it's Polython that's going to do the wind wall. What else? What else do you want to talk to the Arcanists Entente about? Anything? Is there anything specific? If it's just a matter of going over what was already gone over in the meeting earlier, there's not a lot of reason for role-playing it out. Better armor and weapons from the knights. Right, yeah. So you ask about better weapons, and they say we can't just give you items that are enchanted already, because the knights are using them and you're not a knight. But the arrows you've already got are very well made. They look at them over and they go, these are very well made arrows. They're masterwork +1 arrows. They're not technically magical, but they're +1 for the damage that they do. Not the attack, but the damage. And if you wanted them enchanting, they could do so, but it would take much longer than you have. You've now got less than 3 hours. weapons, armor. Same with the armor. They don't have magic armor just lying around not being used. Anybody who has magic armor it's in use with the Knights of Vostra and things. And enchanting your armor is a service that they offer, but it would take many more days than you have. Would turning them into fire arrows ruin the +1? No, you could spend. That's one thing you could do with the remainder of your time. You could take some of the torches that you have and scrape off the tar and the flammable substance that's on the end of the torch. Plaster that around the head of the arrow, and then it's a flammable torch. It's not a flaming torch; it's a flammable torch. You'd need some source of fire to actually to ignite it, and then fire it as a flaming arrow. But because it's a manticore-headed arrow, it would still do the extra damage. It would be a +1 damage arrow with an extra bit of fire damage as well. Do we have poison we can imbue the arrows with? I don't think you have any poison on you, no, but you can talk to the Arcanists on Taunt if they've got any. Let's see. Also, I'm not even going to roll for it. You ask the Arcanists on Taunt whether they have any sort of poison they could put on the arrows, and they said we might be able to get some, but the chances of this dragon succumbing to any sort of poison damage is very low. It's a poison dragon. Can we feed the dragon stones? How do you propose we do that, and to what end? Does Mel know the plan? Yeah, we tried teaching Mel. I'll say that included in that hour of trying to train her that why it's a problem, you were also using the examples of the plan and why it will be a problem, and so she knows the plan, I think. It's a heavily raining day. Yeah, it is. It is starting to heavily rain. Let's see if it's lightened up at all. It was going to be heavily raining. What am I rolling for? I'm rolling for rain. What percentage rain are we looking at the moment? 53. So it's lighter than it was this morning, but it's still raining. It's still drizzling in. Is the dragon breath gas flammable? Not that you've noticed. No, you don't believe it is. The rain's going to wreck visibility and fires. That's a good point. Chlorine isn't flammable, I believe. Can I get a chemist to weigh in on that? Does anybody know if chlorine gas is flammable? Because chlorine gas is basically how I always imagine green dragon poison to be. It reacts with water and turns into like a chloric acid of some kind. And it hurts the interior of your lungs by doing so. That's why it's poisonous. That's why it's so poisonous, is that it's more like acidic when it gets into your system. If I recall correctly, chloric acid isn't flammable. What is the road where the ambush is set to take place made of? Stones or dirt? Dirt. It's a dirt path. It's a dirt path north of Fondurg, because Fondurg was originally like the furthest that this civilization had gone. And then they went north from there to Shadridge, the frontier town. So there's not yet been enough traffic wanting to go to Shadridge that they've bothered to actually pave it. Didn't the lady at the Arcanists say some of them can cast the same spell as our dice do? Maybe have them cast that spell for now and we can roll the dice later. You could do that if you want to, Bird Tom. Remember that any spells that NPCs are casting is a spell slot that they don't have for the fight later. So it's an option, but just keep in mind that it's not an infinite and non-expendable resource. Do they have any sort of mask that could filter the poison out? They do not. Not in a town this size. They wouldn't have items like that lying around. They would start probably working on some as soon as they've heard that there's a dragon in the area, a green dragon, but they wouldn't just have items of that power. Oh, fill our heavy net compartments for use during the ambush. Smart, Kelso. Alright, so one of the things we're going to do, it'll take like half an hour to find some decent rocks, just like on pebbles around the cobblestones of the streets and things. We're going to take half an hour to find enough rocks and pebbles and stones to weigh down our net. So for anyone who wasn't there when we bought it, our net is has special compartments sewed into each of the corners that can essentially be unpoppered and opened up into like pouches, and then you can fill them with rocks and stuff to make the net heavier. So we do that as part of our preparation. We heavy up this net at the end of half an hour. We've got it like, oh, that's got some real weight to it. It's just at the level where you can still reliably heft it, but it's a lot heavier than just a regular net anyway. So you're like, okay, that's good. Anything getting tangled in there, maybe a wing or something, you've seen how big this dragon is, and there's a chance that this net's not big enough to encapsulate the whole thing. But if it grabs it over its wing, it's going to have a harder time extending that wing out and flying. So you get that. That's prepared. Put it in your bag. You've got an hour and a half before dawn, before dusk. Tiny vials of acid be attached to the arrow shaft. If you do so, then it affects the flight of the arrow and probably not as going to be as accurate. We wanted to get the PEA to look into masks and things. Yeah, they're gonna start doing that, but it's too late for them to get anywhere with it. Wind spells help with gas clouds. That's right. So a lot of the people who can cast any sort of wind spells have been prepared to do so during the ambush to protect the town. The town doesn't have any ballista in the inventory. The town has ballistas. They're sort of a cross between a heavy crossbow and a ballista. This is a relatively small town with relatively low resources, and so they don't have like massive stonework walls with castle-like ballista on them or anything. They've just got wooden palisade walls with appropriate ballista. They have, as part of the town's preparation, they have taken off a couple of these ballistas from the southern edge of town and taken them to the northern edge on mobile carts, and they've basically got 3-man teams with them. One to move it on the cart and do the aiming, essentially. One to be reloading, and the other to be doing final aims and fire. And so 3-person teams on these carts are going to be going out with ballistas, but they're not going to be going out just out in the open because it makes it clear and obvious right from the beginning that it's an ambush of some kind. All right, you've got an hour and a half left before the sun goes down. What do you want to do? What's the final prep that you guys want to do before this happens? Make an offering to Altima. That's a good idea, Fancy. Make an offering of Altima. Have you got an idea of what sort of offering you would like to offer? Altima, for anyone who doesn't know, is the god of hunting. They have shown interest in us before when we successfully hunted a very rare Sasquatch. The dice thing, do we want to do that now or wait until closer to the time? Because if you wait until too close to the time and you ask the dice, is this a good idea? And they say, nope, not a good idea, then you've got no time to actually change the plan anyway. So you've got to find that balance. Does Apis have a god they follow? A few different gods, yeah. Mostly Altima, I would say, god of hunting, but they've also been blessed with cure wounds, which comes from the god of healing. Flonanshale's her name. They've also been visited by the god of deception and trickery when they learned Pass Without a Trace, Gamison. The god of hunting for Hunter's Mark. I think that's all of the gods that Apis has had sort of direct connection with. Pray to the hunter god for a good hunt. Offer Darren to Altima. You genuinely could, like that sort of sacrifice would be considered a sacrifice to Altima. You could go back to the greenhouse and say, "Is there everything we need from Darren?" and then offer him as a sacrifice to Altima. Don't kill the rat. We've named him. We can't sacrifice him now. Apis only kills when necessary, so probably not an Apis thing to do. All right, so let's. The best. I mean, you can just pray. So gods will hear your prayers and things usually. But each god tends to like to be prayed to in certain ways. The best way to show your reverence to Altima is a hunt. He's the god of hunting, and he's a god of beasts. To hunt a beast successfully, the bigger the beast, the more that it is a tribute to him. When we got home with a Sasquatch, one of the rarest of beasts, we were granted extra powers to our hunter's mark. He doubled the range of our hunter's mark. So if we did something I mean, granted that was on the day of Altima's, like the beginning of the Altima's festival, so that was a particularly exciting moment for him, or them as the god. So if we go hunt something now, we could appease the god with like an hour and a half left, but we'd have to leave the town to go hunting. Alternatively, we could just do a regular prayer as if this dragon that we're about to take down is the hunt, and we're saying, bless this hunt. Crossed arrows, yep. Take the Altima symbol of crossed arrows, put them down. If we kill that dragon, it's a hell of a tribute to Altima's, yep. Alright, so we're doing some praying. we pray to Altima's. I'm going to do a religion check. You do not have proficiency in religion, so it's just going to be a straight roll plus 3. Intelligence, 17 plus 3. With a flat 20 religion check. Apis draws on all they know about Altima's and the way that they like to be deferred to. They head to the northern part of town. They convince the guards there to let them out. There's nobody here at the gates clamouring to get out of well, not nobody. There's a couple of people in town saying that they want to get to Shadridge because they feel like it'll be safer than here. And the guards are saying, no, we're under strict orders. Nobody's fleeing the town. We need to not show that we need to not spread out into the wilderness and the path where we're going to get picked off by this dragon's minions and things. And they're saying, no, we're not opening the gates for anybody. You're going to stay here at home where we're safest. We can only keep you safe if you're in the walls. You get to the walls, and it takes a little bit of convincing, but the guards do recognise you. Joey's on duty. Joey knows you and allows you out to go and prepare. And you go and stand just in the outside of the walls, staring at the area 100 feet to the north where this ambush was last night. Where this thing was this morning with Tauchu, the ambush. And you take out 2 of your arrows, and you lay them down in the dirt, crossed over each other in the symbol of Altima's, and you sit down and you pray. You pray to Altima's, the god of hunting, that you are going to hunt a dragon in their name. And by doing so, you will protect hundreds, maybe thousands of people here in Fondurg, and countless people that this dragon would terrorize in its life if it was allowed to grow to an ancient size. You ask that Altima's blesses the hunt, and you ask that they see your arrows fly true. You hear no response, but you feel like you've done a good job of paying deference, showing reverence. You stand up, you take the arrows back and place them in the quiver. And all of that's taken about half an hour or so. It's about an hour. You can see that the light is getting low now over the forest to the west. You can still see the mountain tops are still illuminated in sunlight, but being that the sun is getting low on the horizon behind some trees, the town is largely in shadow now. You've got about an hour before dusk. You don't know exactly. It's not like counting down the minutes because there's no like clocks. So there's clocks, but there's not watchers and things to keep to the second timing. So the dragon said dusk. Anything from now until 6 is about duskish. So you've got about an hour. You want to roll the dice? Dice. Alright, most people saying the dice. So at this point, before going back inside the town gates, Apis reaches into their bag, takes out the bone dice, opens up the box, and with a little bit of reluctance, because of how many people I know have hesitation about these particular dice and whether or not they do anything for us, whether or not they do anything to us, rather. I'm going to first roll a percentile to see how wet it still is. Is it still raining? It has 18%. So it's actually getting much clearer. It is now still wet and damp, but the rain itself has dropped down to a light mist. The mud on the ground won't roll the dice very well, but you close the dice. You close the dice box up. Is there anything else you can roll them on? You've got the back of a book or nothing you really want to get out into the rain, I suppose. So you just close the dice box up. You grab out the polyhedral set of bone dice that once belonged to a fey creature, and you ask it, is this ambush plan? I need to know from you guys actually. What is the wording that you use of asking these dice? Because wording is important, especially when it comes to fey creatures and their items. Will this ambush have a good chance of succeeding? Will we win? Is this going to work? Okay. What is Apis's opinion of success or work? For the people who said, will this work? Will we win or will we succeed? What is Apis thinking when they say that to themselves? Will we win? Will we succeed? What does success look like defeating the dragon. Alright, there's two main schools of thought that I'm seeing. Will I survive, or will the dragon die? Like, those are two different variations of will this plan succeed. So I'm going to put that to a poll. The question we're going to ask the dice, by the looks of it, is some form of, will this plan succeed? Currently we've got two options. What is Apis' definition of success in this plan? Minimal casualties, including yourself, minimal casualties, or the dragon dies. Those are the two sort of major conflicting options. There are minimized casualties, but the dragon stays alive. Is that a success? Or there are lots of casualties, but the dragon's dead. Is that a success? Alright, so with 57% of the vote, Apis' opinion of a successful plan results in minimal casualties. So, is our plan of ambushing and killing the dragon likely to go ahead with minimal casualties? Yes? That's the question? Alright, so that is what we ask. Specifically, as we grab the dice out, we ask the dice, is our plan of ambushing and killing the dragon likely to go ahead, likely to succeed with minimal casualties from Fondurg? And then we let the dice go. As the dice land on the lid of the box, we see flashes of visions in which a person walks up to a doorway and finds that it's locked. We hear the sounds of somebody getting hit by some sort of blunt force and calling out in a more shock than pain. We get a smell of something on the edge of putrid. We taste sort of a bland a bland taste of like a mouthful of flour. We feel a very cold, stiff breeze. It flashes again as the dice hit the lid of the box and bounce and land again. Every time they land, another flash. It eventually speeds up as the momentum of the dice settles and the dice slow down, but the time between the dice bouncing speeds up. The flashes all blend together, and we are left with a sense of woe. It seems like the dice are answering no. Leaning towards bad, but not totally. Yes, the dice seem to be leaning towards woe, but the flashes you were getting were not horrendous and overwhelming. The woe from Sassy was much stronger, yes. We are less than an hour away from the dragon arriving. What do you want to do? Pray again. This time with feeling. The dice also said the Sasquatch was going to go terribly. No, they didn't. The dice said that you cannot befriend this Sasquatch. And you did not befriend the Sasquatch. You tricked it into getting into a hole, and then you let it go, and it ran. Is everyone in positions already and hidden for the ambush? Not yet. They are preparing now. They are on their way out towards the northern edge of town. You hear the gate opening behind you. Keep rolling the dice till we get an answer we like. You could. The more you use them, the more you ask these dice questions, the more there's a chance of a random answer. One of which could just be like, "Yay! You hear butterflies and rainbows, and you taste cotton candy." How are we going tingle-wise? That's up to you guys, really. Like, how nervous is Apis being at this point as it starts to become real and people start to emerge from the town behind you and disappear off into the bushes? You can see that there's about a dozen or so people have set off and split onto either side of the path. Included among them was Polython and Rebecca, the two Wolverine knights, one of whom was sort of shifting and shimmering as she walked. Her image split into two as it walks off into the bush. You can see that there were a couple other knights around as well, and you saw Briar and Briar, Polython, Vala, Rebecca. These guys are all in the area. Is anyone keep an eye on the forest to make sure the dragon's children aren't keeping this town under observation? Nobody was sent to do so, no. The Knight of Kvosna at this point walks over Nambra and she says, Apis, I think it's time. We don't know when he'll come back, but if this ambush is going to go ahead, we need you ready for it. We need you to look like you're actually the sacrifice that we need you to be. She says, have you got the rope? Now I know that at least some of Apis was worried about getting caught up in this rope. Are we still going ahead with the rope plan of being, or are we looking like we can either go with an actual rope around us, but it's magic, so that at the bonus word we can drop it. We can go with an illusory rope if we can ask the illusion wizard to do that for us. Or we could just go no rope at all and look like we're a willing sacrifice. What is everybody's thoughts on that? All right, I'm putting this to a poll then because it's not an obvious unanimous decision. Can that bonus action be a prepared one if they're like a surprise round? A prepared bonus action to drop the rope, I imagine. Yeah, like if this happens, if this word is said, or if so and so does this, or if the dragon gets within this blah blah blah, I'll bonus action drop the rope. That can be your prepared action, I would say. Meanwhile, Rebecca, the illusion wizard, comes over to us as well. She goes, it's time, Apis, that I illusion up your bow there, if you wouldn't mind, and you hand it over. And she gets out like a little pot, a small little clay pot, and she pops the top off, and she starts rubbing like a white hair gel kind of a substance. And she's rubbing into the wood of the bow, and she's sort of chanting under her breath as she does so. Then she like closes her eyes and she gets all the way down to the artisanal alliance one was snooty, that's for sure. She gets down all the way down and it's just like covered in a thick white goo. You're still talking with the knight Nambra at this point while she's doing this in the background. And she's almost like she's waxing up your bowstring. But by the time she gets to the end, she's spent like a good minute of applying this gel-like oil, and the parts where she started are starting to fade away, like look transparent. She hands it back after a minute or two, and it starts to look transparent. And as you hold on to it, you can kind of feel this slippery goo underneath your hand, but you can't see the wood, and it starts to fade away from the top as you watch it. It starts to the white goes transparent and clear as if it's like reacting to something in the air, and then the wood beneath it is visible again and then disappears, and then it does the same all down the bowstring. She says, the effect will only last until the weapon is used, so make sure to not give the game away too soon. Let me try your quiver if you wouldn't mind. You take the quiver off and she starts to slather this stuff all over the side of the quiver as well. With 71% of the vote, we are deciding to go with the plan of the magic rope. So we get out the magic rope as we do so. We get this this slathered up quiver of arrows back, and as soon as the quiver disappears, the arrows inside also disappear, without having to slippery goo on the arrows themselves. We put this this quiver back on, and she says, "I'm afraid I don't have enough for the sword as well. It was one weapon or another, and you're much better with your bow. You're going to have to lose the sword." We can hold. One of the knights and Nambra, who's next to you, says, "We can hold your sword in its quiver and toss it to you as soon as the ambush has begun." So you're gonna try and hide the sword around your back or something, or are you gonna take it off? Hold the sword under the cape. You could potentially have the cape on over the top, like if you readjusted your sword to behind your back or something, then maybe the cape would cover some of it. It might be visible between your legs though. I think they just want a good sword toss. Reinforces us as the hero. Yeah, that moment of and you grab a sword, and then you drop it, and like, I don't use a sword. Too many variables about where we would be needing the sword around the dragon. I say give it to a knight and pass it back to us. If we step away, the sword would be left behind. Yeah, give it to one of the knights. What do you guys think? Are we going in the wagon too? You're not going in the wagon. No, you'll be holding the wagon. You'll be pushing the wagon forward as you and the item are the gifts to the dragon. Or you won't be pushing the dragon forward, but you'll be pushed forward with the wagon and a knight of Kvosna. All right, so let's go with pole. Another pole. Sword, question mark. Try keep it on us. So that's going to be like a matter of trying to keep it hidden beneath your cloak or something. Try keep it close. So that's a matter of burying it in the mud next to you or putting it on the wagon somewhere that's close by. Give it to the knights. So Nambra says, you should lose the sword before you wrap up your. The bow will be enough. Hopefully, we are able to trigger the ambush before he gets within the range of you anyway. So you should be fine with your bow. I understand that you can misty step, and you say, if that's like jump from one place to another. She says yes, it's a spell called misty step. You say, oh well, in that case yes, I can do that. It might be wise to do so when it gets close, but I'm not going to teach you how to fight. You will need to give the alert when to drop the ambush, when to surprise it. With 79% of the vote, we're going to give the sword to the knight. So as she talks, we take the scabbard off of our belt and hand it over. And she takes it and says, "We'll hand it back if you get into a melee range with it." Then you put the invisible bow over your shoulder, your quiver back on, and that's when you get your rope up and tie yourself up with a rope, holding one end down by your waist so that you can give it the command word to drop in a moment's notice. Say, you are going to need to give us the word. You will be the one who can see the most. You will be the one that's actively in the most danger. When the dragon approaches, you need to be the one to make the call when it is close enough. It's important that your nerves do not get the better of you. If you throw the ambush too quickly, the dragon will sense things and fly. It will come back with greater force and anger, I'm sure, and take its retribution on the town. But say the word too late, and we lose the element of surprise, and you may not make it. So we lose one of our best fighters, as rumour has it. When the rope drops is the attack. So do we tell her in the moment that our signal for attacking is us shouting the command word for the rope to drop? I think two options for signals: shouting now or dropping the rope, depending on how dangerous the situation is for us. When the rope drops, that's the sign. All right. Everyone's smart, so why not just attack when I attack? Yep. That's probably the idea, but they need an audible trigger that's very clear, so that the ones that are hiding behind trees and things and can't actually see the battle before they jump out and attack, they can still hear the attack, and it's like the code word was now. Then they can be like, go! Yeah, I'd rather shout than wait for a bonus action. So the shouting now, or shouting the code word for the rope to drop, shouting something in a moment, that'll be the trigger for the fight to start. Finally, as we are ready, and Nambra turns to leave to get into position, another of the badgers, Victoria, a human woman with a blue cloak on, a blue cape on, comes out with a small wagon, a small one, almost like a wheelbarrow, but with 2 wheels on it, 2 wheels on the front, and she trundles it forwards. And inside is a relatively small box, and inside that box is a gravy boat. It's an open-topped box, more like a crate than a box. An open-topped bronze gravy boat with a wilting snowdrop as a handle. She trundles that along with you, pushing it through the mud. At this point, the rain is all but stopped. It's just like a grey drizzle and a difficult sort of muddy path. She pushes it forwards with you, and you step forwards, and then she says, I think I was told that I could leave when I get here. And you say, that's fine. And she turns and walks back to the town. And you can see that there are people up on the walls manning the ballista bolts, and you are within range of where the ballista bolts could reach. You've been left like a couple of 100 feet from the front of the wall. And you wait. And you wait. And you wait. The sun starts to set. Looking over to your right, to the east, you can see the sun disappearing up the side of the mountains. The sunlight is getting to the northernmost parts of the mountains, the highest most parts of the mountains. And it's almost like a clock. You watch as the sunlight gets closer and closer to the tips of the mountains in the east, as it sets in the west on the other side of this forest. You watch the sunlight getting closer and closer to the top of the mountain. And then there is as something comes from the forest, a crunching sound from the forest, further north than you are by a few 100 feet. Another crunching sound. And then stepping out onto the path, a very large, pig-like beast with green dragon scales all the way up its head and snout, as it turns towards you 300 feet to the north. You can see it sort of snarl, almost menacingly grin, as it starts to walk down the path towards you. He gets to about 100 feet north of you, so about 300 feet north of the town. And he shouts out in Draconic,
"How fitting! I guess they worked out who the real champion was. Unfortunately for you, Father has decided that his sons and daughters did not get a choice of who died. And he's not giving you that choice either. You can live, for now. He has chosen another."
And then you hear a screaming from the southern part of town. And that is where I'm going to leave it for today. Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I'll see you here next time. Bye-bye.